A very happy morning to all of you children. Welcome to the science class. Hope you all are doing good at homes. Children, today we will be starting with the new chapter, that is chapter number 16. That's coal and petroleum. In this chapter we will be studying about the natural resources, fossil fuels and their types, that's coal, petroleum and natural gas. So, what do we understand by coal and petroleum? Have you all seen coal and petroleum in your real life? I'm sure almost everyone would have seen coal and petroleum, as these are the common products that are useful for us. Yes? So, why are they called as useful here? Coal and petroleum, they provide us with energy. Yeah, coal provides us with heat energy and petroleum is used in running the vehicles, right? So they are basically considered as fuels. Yes, you all remember fuels. We have studied about fuels in combustion chapter, right? So coal and petroleum can be considered as resources, children. Now, what do we understand by resources? A resource can be any useful information, material, or service. Yeah, so coal and petroleum are two useful materials that are very useful for us. Now, these resources can be of two types: natural resources, artificial or human resources. Natural resources can be defined as the materials obtained from nature. Yeah, so they are called as natural resources. Coal and petroleum fall under the category of natural resources. The other natural resources include air, water, soil, wildlife. These are the example of natural resources. Whereas when we talk about the human resources, it refers to human wisdom, experience, skill, labor, and enterprise. Some of the example under artificial or man-made resources are chair, car, the things basically made by the man that are useful for us. So that is about the resources. When we talk about the natural resources, children, natural resources are produced by nature and they are further classified as exhaustible natural resources and inexhaustible natural resources. So, under natural resources, we have exhaustible natural resources. Now, the exhaustible natural resources, children, can be defined as the resources which can be exhausted as a result of human consumption. So, the natural resources which can be exhausted by the consumption of human are called as exhaustible natural resources. For example, coal, petroleum, water, forests. Yes, then the inexhaustible natural resources include the natural resources which are not likely to be exhausted due to the human activities and are present in unlimited quantities, which means even if they are continuously being used, they will not get finished. So, that is inexhaustible natural resources. Examples of inexhaustible natural resources include air, sunlight. So these are some of the inexhaustible natural resources which we human has their unlimited availability. So they can be used unlimitedly, but however they should be used wisely, even though if they are available in plenty. I'm sure you would have heard about the exhaustible and inexhaustible natural resources in socials as well, right? So children, when we talk about inexhaustible natural resources, The inexhaustible natural resources are further classified as renewable energy resources and non-renewable energy resources. Renewable energy resources are the energy resources which can be regenerated easily and naturally are called as renewable energy resources. Like as we see on the screen, the renewable energy resources here, wind energy, solar energy, tidal energy, these are the sources which can be regenerated easily, right? So they are renewable energy resources. Whereas non-renewable energy resources include the energy resources which once consumed cannot be regenerated. Those are called as non-renewable energy resources. For example, fossil fuels. Have you all heard about fossil fuels? So that is our next topic that we will discuss today. फॉसल फ्यूल्स के अंदर हमारे कोल पेट्रोलियम आते हैं. सो दीज आर द एनर्जी सोर्सेज विच व्हेन वन कंज्यूम्ड कैन नॉट बी रीजनरेटेड वेरी इजीली. या सो दे आर नॉन रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी रिसोर्सेज. Now let us go ahead and talk about fossil fuels. Fossil fuels is a word which can be split up, as here it explains. Fossil means remains of dead plants and animals. Fuel, we all know that it is the material that is burned to produce heat. So basically the remains of dead plants and animals that are being burned to produce heat are fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are naturally occurring carbon containing materials which, when burnt in air in the presence of oxygen, they produce heat energy. So they can also be defined as the materials of biological origin. Why biological origin? Because they are related with the life of plants and animals. So these are the materials of biological origin occurring within the earth's crust, which can be used as a source of energy. So we don't find fossil fuels here and there on the roadside. It is buried inside the earth's crust. We need to dig or drill to locate the fossil fuels. Alright, so fossil fuels are basically formed in the nature by the decomposition of the plants and animals which got buried under the earth due to geological changes that occurred millions of years ago. Now, when we talk about different fossil fuels, at that time we will study how they were formed in detail, children. Yes, so fossil fuels can be classified into three types. Based upon their physical status, we can say that the fossil fuels can be classified into three categories. That is solid fuels. Example include coal. Liquid fuels, that's petroleum, heavy oil and bitumens. And then we have gaseous fuels, that's natural gas. So fossil fuels are solid fuels, liquid fuels and gaseous fuels. In the liquid fuels, petroleum include heavy oil and bitumens. They are actually the products of petroleum. So that's about the fossil fuels. And as mentioned earlier, fossil fuels are non-renewable energy resources, children. So they should be used very wisely as we have very limited supply of them available and they take millions of years to get produced again. So we have very limited quantity available to us and we need to use them wisely. So we should not waste them. The first fossil fuel that we will study in today's class is coal. What do we all know about coal? Coal को हम हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं? Coal is nothing but कोयला. Yes? So कोयला हम सब यूज़ करते हैं घर पे खाना बनाने के लिए, पानी गर्म करने के लिए. बड़ी बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज़ में कोल को यूज़ किया जाता है to produce heat. Yeah? So how is actually coal form? कोयला कैसे बनता है? Coal is, children, actually formed from the dead remains of trees and other plants that lived 300 to 400 million years ago. Yes, so हम ये जो coal form होता है, it is actually the plants that got buried, plants and trees which got buried under the earth. Under high temperature and pressure, they got converted into coal. Yeah, it is believed that dead plants were covered by rocks and soil and they were decomposed by the bacteria. Again, the new plants grew in this soil. They too again got buried under the soil and rocks. Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes destroyed the forest, which also got buried under the surface of earth and got covered with sand, clay, and water. And as the time passed, these remains went deeper and deeper, and due to high temperature and high pressure inside the earth, in the absence of the air, they got converted into coal. That is how the coal was formed. So it's a very slow process for the formation of coal. This slow chemical process of conversion of the wood. Now, from where did the wood come? The wood was present in the plants that got buried under the earth. So, the slow chemical process of conversion of wood into coal is called as carbonization. So, children, what is carbonization? Carbonization is the slow chemical process of conversion of wood into coal. That is actually carbonization. Yes, coal consists of carbon. The main components or the composition of coal consists of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and some amount of phosphorus as well. The coal, as we studied, it is found deep under the surface of the earth, and it is basically found, or where we are able to use it by digging inside the earth. कोल माइंस का नाम सुना होगा आपने. सो कोल माइंस में से कोल निकाला जाता है by digging the earth. Yes, now what is the use of the coal? हम सब घर पे तो यूज़ करते ही हैं कोल. Mostly in the winter season, maybe to warm the water or to cook. Yeah, apart from that, coal is also used in electric power. It is used in industries to produce heat and in the manufacturing of steel. Mostly here the coal is used to produce heat. So that is about coal, children. Now coal exists in different varieties. कोल जो हमारा ये जो कोल एग्जिस्ट करता है, it exists in different varieties. There are majorly 4 varieties of the coal. As the first step of coal formation results in a material called as peat. Peat is actually not considered as coal. It is an accumulation of the partially decayed leaves, twigs, and branches. It contains large quantity of moisture and very low content of the carbon. So जहाँ पे moisture ज़्यादा होगा, do you think that would be a good quality coal? No. So peat is not a very high quality kind of coal. Yeah, it is actually not considered also as coal, but as it is formed by the decomposition of the leaves, twigs, and branches, so it is taken into consideration as coal. And important thing to remember here is that it contains large quantity of moisture and low content of carbon. Carbon content is around 50 to 60% here. Now, the second type or the variety of coal is lignite, which is formed from the second stage of coal formation and is also called as brown coal. It is composed of compressed woody matter that has lost most of its moisture. So peat क्या था? Peat में ज़्यादा moisture content था. उसके बाद we have lignite which has less amount of moisture present in it. The carbon content here increases up to 70%. It is more solid than peat but still soft enough to crumble. Yes, so we know now two types of coals, that is peat and lignite. Then the third stage of coal formation is bituminous coal. That's the third variety. It is dense, dark, brittle variety of coal that has lost almost all of its moisture and impurities. So it has less moisture content, and the carbon content here is 80 to 85%. So it can be considered as an efficient fuel. But when it burns, it produces ash and sulfur compounds which are pollutants. Yes, we all know that when coal is burnt open in the air, it produces carbon dioxide and pollutes the air. So this coal can be considered as a concern for the air pollution. The production and use of fossil fuels, children, raise environmental concerns as they produce carbon dioxide on burning, which is again as a greenhouse gas and leads to global warming. We have studied about global warming and pollution of air and water chapter, if you all remember. Yes. So coming back to the coal, we have studied the three varieties. Now coming to the fourth and most efficient variety of coal, that is anthracite. And it is the final stage in the formation of coal. This is formed when bituminous coal remains in the earth for a long time and is subjected to extreme pressure, and this anthracite is also called as hard coal here, and it contains over 90% of carbon. Anthracite, children, burns with very little smoke and up to a longer time than bituminous coal. So can you tell me, out of peat, lignite, bituminous and anthracite, which is the most efficient coal? That will be anthracite, because it has no moisture or least amount of moisture present in it. It contains 90% of carbon and it produces very little smoke and burns up to a longer time. So it can be considered as the most efficient form of coal. Yes. So children, in today's class, we have defined natural resources. We have studied about the types of natural resources and types of we have studied about the natural resources, and we have also studied about the types of inexhaustible natural resources. Then we have studied regarding the fossil fuels, how were they formed and the types. Under fossil fuels, we have started with the topic of coal. We have studied about the composition, uses and formation of coal in today's class. So please go through the textbook, read through it for better understanding. Also, we are sending you the YouTube link for the topics covered in today's class, and the PDF is being sent with the question answers related to the topics taught in the class today. Please go through the content thoroughly, and for your queries you can WhatsApp me, or we can discuss the doubts in the Zoom class, children. So enjoy e-learning. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you.